Community is one of those shows that could never be made in an entertainment industry that increasingly values cheap cash grabs. It originally aired in 2009 and suffered from middling ratings throughout its entire run, but its patented mix of comedy and emotional resonance gave it a small legion of undying fans that persists to this day. So, I decided to see what all of the fuss was about, and I just have one question. How did I miss this back when it originally aired? Actually, I have a few more. How much of this are we going to cover in this series?
Everything!
Okay, I think that means every season. How many different directions does the show go?
Everywhere!
And just who are these essays for? I want to take you on a quest, but first, let's consider the obvious. What sets this show apart? The sitcom can go in many different directions, but most of them don't even bother to try because they have to reset everything for the next episode. Community solves this problem in its first season by populating its setting with three-dimensional leads. This is a character, this is a character, and so are all of these. Except for Chang and the Dean. And how did Dan Harmon accomplish this, you ask? Well, he used his own spin on the monomyth and serialized the whole endeavor. That certainly limited its appeal in the pre-benching era. However, the absurd attention to detail, thoughtful performances, and willingness to run with consequences make a long sit-down all the more rewarding now. By the middle of the first season, I felt that I had gotten to know every single member of the study group, which gave me a reason to empathize with them through everything that happens. Speaking of which, let's get started by looking at the most grounded season of them all. As with most sitcoms, the opening of this show is a little rough around the edges, but I think that it picks up steam with its third episode, Introduction to Film. This episode arguably sets the tone for what's possible in this show because it's a down-to-earth character study. The B-plot explains how Jeff is struggling to find some normalcy in a homage to the Dead Poets Society, but the A story is where the magic is. In a moment of pure altruism, Britta offers to pay for the titular class because she feels that Abed should pursue his dreams above all else. Of course, this backfires a bit when Abed starts spending money and manipulating the world around him for a mystery project. His dad also catches wind of what is going on, which doesn't help at all. However, all of it comes together in the end when it's revealed that Abed was trying to figure out why his mom left him and his dad. His fear is that it was because of his unspecified lack of normalcy, but that helps him to patch things up with his dad. I can't think of another sitcom that managed to build up that kind of emotional resonance 3 episodes in. Not a single one. Unfortunately, Abed's characterization is a bit of a sticking point. You'll see why when we get to Season 3. Jeff and Annie start cooking up a storm in the aptly titled Debate 109. This episode mixes in some philosophy where we're forced to wonder if mankind is good or evil. I happen to lean toward the idea that man is mostly good, but Annie makes a very compelling argument.
He was horny, so he dropped him. Man is evil!
The fallout makes this moment even funnier, but it doesn't come about until 6 episodes later.
What are you insinuating? I took that kiss for the team.
What?
Way to run with that romantic expressionism, Jeff. Real smooth.
Yeah, that kiss wasn't for pleasure. It was strategic and joyless.
What?
Actually, never mind, I take that back. The dialogue in this scene is so awesome that it almost makes one forget that Annie is dating Deeks. Well, they kind of capitalize on Jeff and Annie's thing in episode 17, Physical Education. However, Annie's obvious perviness is just a bonus. No, this episode is a stone cold classic because of our guy Abed. The group plays up that he might have a secret admirer, and it leads to the dawning realization that the Giga Dork is actually a Giga Chad.
What are you reading?
Pride and Prejudice?
So you're familiar with 2 sins. How about a third?
Listen to the power. Listen to the sheer awesomeness. A go!
I don't think we're allowed to smoke in here.
picked the wrong outfit. Didn't you?
Abed, what are you doing?
Don Draper from Mad Men.
If Abed can do that, he can do anything. Oh, there's one other thing.
Oh, great. So much for bagels.
I don't know how Dan Harmon and Jesse Miller got me to laugh at the mispronunciation of a word, but they did. With that said, this season isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There is one standout that doesn't really work at all, and it's the art of discourse. While the episode does set up a joke that pays off 4 seasons down the road, the entire effort consists of Jeff and Britta arguing with a bunch of high schoolers. Well, they can't all be winners, I guess. Thankfully, Modern Warfare is the very next episode, so let's get back to the fun. Although contemporary American poultry may have come first, Modern Warfare illustrates the best of what Community would become. Once we learn about the paintball game, Jeff heads out to his car to take a nap, only to wake up to a virtually destroyed school a la 28 Days Later. When he meets back up with his friends, we get virtually non-stop action as the group is whittled down to Jeff and Britta. If nothing else, I will admit that these two have great chemistry, especially when they skip the nonsense and get down to business. Of course, it's a little more complicated than one might think.
Please tell me you didn't have sex with me to win at paintball.
No, I had sex with you, and now I'm gonna win at paintball. Don't be gross.
Luckily, Jeff thinks very quickly, which is a point in his favor. And yes, Chang gets involved. Since he's good in small doses, this leads to one of the few moments of awesome that he gets in the entire series. As it turns out, the entire game was a lie, therefore Jeff has to get his revenge on the Dean. Nice. The season finale, Pascal's Triangle Revisited, adds a little bit more to Jeff's outlook on life, but I have to lay out a bit of background first. Back in the middle of the season, Jeff engaged in a casual relationship with Professor Slater. That ended in time for his aforementioned hookup with Britta. Naturally, this dynamic is shoved back into play with a transfer dance, otherwise known as a thing that would get this show cancelled instantly today. Britta and Slater both tell Jeff that they love him, but there's just one problem. Why would they say that when their relationships are built on nothing but hookups? As it turns out, that may be kind of the point. If you have nothing else on the table, how could you really pick? Luckily, there's a third option. Okay, that's not a bad ending if I dare say so. Sure, Jeff might be about a decade older than Annie, but it feels real and not yucky. I'm sure that nothing will come along to ruin our perception of that, right? That's Community Season 1 in a nutshell. While it isn't perfect in every which way, the fact that I wanted to minimize spoilers should tell you something about how good it is. The characters are flawed and relatable, the stories are believable, and the emotional resonance counterbalances the zaniness in a meaningful way. I dig it, and I can't wait to review the next 5 seasons and maybe the movie. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked that and you want to see more, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Sharing is caring as well. What fun! If you'd like to support the channel more directly, the links for that are in the description. And just remember,
Annie's pretty young, we try not to sexualize her.
I'll see you next time.